Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Gold Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today, yes, of course, because I'm an Islander fan, and I'm going to preface that right off the bat, we are going to talk about the updated perception of the rivalry between the New York Islanders and the New York Rangers. So with how things ended last season, the Rangers ran away with the bag, laughing off into the playoffs, while the Islanders were not in that spot. The Islanders were not a good team last year. They struggled, and kind of the capping off on that was the Rangers' utter dominance over the Islanders in Elmont when they beat the Islanders at UBS Arena. I think it was 6 or 7-1 or 7-2, something ugly. And that was my first game at UBS Arena against the Rangers, and as frustrating as it was watching the Islanders lose that game, it was the amount of Ranger fans at that game that was the most concerning. And I really felt at the time that the Islanders' hype ran out. That the fans weren't there for the Islanders, and it was kind of the Rangers kind of taking back the momentum. And they did. And they went to the playoffs, ended up going to the Eastern Conference Finals against Tampa, and they had a great season. But it's a new year. The Islanders have a new guy behind the bench in Lane Lambert, and the Islanders have sort of got back some momentum since that game back in the spring of this year. So you want to look at the schedule between these two teams. I think the one thing Islanders and Rangers fans will agree with for the eternity of time is why they don't play 6 times a year. Because have 3 games at the Garden, 3 games at UBS, and you have a sellout every game. And the Rangers sold out the Garden the other night. It's a disaster that they only play each other 3 times and only once at UBS. That is insane. I do not understand that, but whatever. That point can be brought up next year again. But the Islanders only meet one more time with the Rangers at the Garden right before Christmas. I think it's December 22nd at the Garden. All the Christmas stuff is going to be down there in Manhattan, and all the lights and everything, and Santa hats will be filled at MSG. I can already tell that's what's going to happen. The carts outside are going to be selling their candied cashews and pecans and whatever else. But at this point, the Islanders are taking back some momentum. So the first game at UBS Arena this year, the Islanders were playing a little bit sour. They were coming off of a kind of a rough stretch, a couple of rough games, going to the Garden, and the Islanders have won 7 of 8 games since that game at UBS Arena. And when you look at how things have gone for the Rangers since then, it's kind of been a tale of 2 stories, right? The Islanders have been utter dominance. They went on a 7-game I think they went on a 6 or 7 game winning streak after that win against the Rangers at UBS. The Rangers have kind of been middle ground. They won 3 after that game against the Islanders, and now since then they've lost 3 in a row. So you look at how the Rangers have kind of faced some adversity here, and this is at home. These were games that they were winnable. They were up. I think they were up against the Red Wings 2-0 in that game, or 2-1. They end up blowing that game 3-2 at the Garden in overtime. A tough, crushing loss for the Rangers. And they somehow followed that up with a game against the Islanders where they were on the second game of a back-to-back. They played a physical, rough game. Mind you, it went to overtime against the Calgary Flames. They were down 3-1 going into the third, and the Islanders stormed back and won that game in OT. Well, we kind of saw the exact same thing happen the night after. The Rangers had a day off in between that Red Wings game and the Islanders game. They played both games at home, so they didn't have to travel. This was their trap game, right? The Islanders are kind of riding high. They're on a winning streak. The Rangers look a little bit desperate here early in the year. This is a game they need to win at home. And for the most part, they did. The first period was a pretty even, back and forth. The Islanders got a power play goal. The Rangers got a power play goal. Call it even at the end of one. Both fan bases were okay. Everybody was clapping because one side won, the other side won. Everybody was playing well. The second period, the Rangers dominated, and unfortunately, they didn't dominate enough. They dominated the score shots, the shot chart. They had a bunch of power plays. Some of them I thought were phantom calls, but we would see later on that kind of came back to bite the Rangers, I think. And that was kind of obvious, but the Rangers scored a couple power play goals in the second. They took advantage of the opportunities that were given to them, and they were dominating the Islanders. They they were playing their game. And at the end of the second period, it was 3-1 Rangers. The Garden was loud as hell. They needed that game. They finally scored a goal against Varlamov, scored multiple goals against him. They just wanted to berate it on him. And then 14 seconds into the third period, Adam Pelech scores a goal for the Islanders and totally changed the momentum swing for the Rangers. And it turned what was full-on momentum for the Rangers into neutral, and that's all the Islanders needed. They get a power play later in the period. Brock Nelson scores the second power play goal for the Islanders, who have struggled on the power play to start the season, as really the last 10 years the Islanders have seemingly struggled on the power play. They get a huge second power play goal, tie the game, and the Garden looked stunned. And to finish that off, the Islanders not only tied the game, but Andersley, with just a little over 5 minutes left in regulation, a phantom call that, again, you could make the argument for that call, absolutely, but the Rangers already had 5 or 6 power plays in that game, and a lot of them came in the second period. Again, I understand that could have been called. I totally get that. But some people said Kako dove a little bit, and you could argue that Zibanejad could have gotten a Broadway acting job with that push from Wallstrom in the second period. Again, it goes both ways, guys. And I know that's a frustrating call, and if you just saw that play and that's all you saw, then that's fair. But there was more to the entire game. There was bad calls. And the Islanders end up cashing in, and the Rangers blew a 2-goal lead, giving up 3 goals in the third period. And remember the context. Going into that third period, it's 3-1 Islanders, 3-1 Rangers, 2-goal lead. The Garden is rocking. The Islanders, playing on the second night of a back-to-back where they played at home against a physical team in Calgary, had to win that game, come back in that game in overtime. The Rangers should have taken care of it. They scored that early goal. If that was the Rangers, excuse me, that made it 4-1 early in the third period, there's no hockey game after that, and the Islanders lose that game. The Islanders got that early goal in the third, and everything changed after that, and a stunned crowd at the Garden, and I was pleased at that, obviously, but man, it seemed like the Rangers themselves looked a little dejected at that point, and I think it's just one of those things where you have to ride the momentum, and that can be difficult, but that's what you have to do. And the Rangers have sold out I'm looking at their attendance. They sold out the first game of the season, 18,006. They sold out their second home game, 18,006. They sold out both games against Columbus and Colorado, 18,006. You get a theme here, maximum capacity. And the last 3 games at home against the Bruins, Red Wings, and the Islanders, they have had maximum attendance of 18,006 attending in each of those games. So obviously the support is there for the Rangers. They're obviously still excited from last season and where they were. But I think there's still that level of frustration with some of these games, like Detroit and the Islanders most recently, that they let at least 3 points slip away from them. And worse, with the Islanders, a divisional opponent that you could be fighting for the playoffs for, or even home ice advantage for, you gave them 2 points. So that's where there's a little level of concern. The good news, though, for the Rangers, their schedule lightens up. The next couple of games, there are some real winnable games here for them. They could get out of the Garden, which actually might be a benefit for them, considering they're on a 3-game losing streak at the Garden here. They go to Detroit. They play Nashville. None of those teams are playing all that well. Arizona, you guys know the story of the Coyotes. And then they have to go to the West Coast road trip, which for most teams doesn't really seem that daunting. But it could be a real important one here for the Rangers. They go to Seattle, San Jose, LA, and Anaheim right before Thanksgiving. And that's going to be a critical stretch for them before they get 3 days off and a lot of home games to start off November. In a stretch of, 7? So in a span of 10 games, they have 7 games at home. So that'll be a real good way for them to kind of get into December. And like I said, if they come out on the winning side of the next 3 games, those are some base games they could take with them on the road to the West Coast. these next 4 games are going to be big for the Rangers, and I think if they could come back home with some wins under their belt, win one of those games against Edmonton, they have a big game against the Devils. The Devils will be playing their 3rd game in 4 nights. That seems like a game where they could take some momentum out of the Devils. The Devils are at the top of the division. The New Jersey Devils are at the top of the Metropolitan Division. Yes, I did say that. You don't have to go back. That could end up being a real big game here, and kind of seeing the resurgence of that Hudson River rivalry, which I really think would be nice. That's a big game for the Rangers as well. So when you look at a couple of games here, there are some critical games that the Rangers can kind of get right back on track, and we kind of forget about this. But this is a very streaky team to start the year. They had a 4-game losing streak, then a 3-game winning streak, and then most recently a 3-game losing streak. So they're very up and down, and that is a little bit concerning. Now, if they go and win a 20-game winning streak, well, then we don't worry about it so much. But you got to get there, right? And that's just not realistic. The Rangers have to be a little bit more even keel, and I think that's part of just some of the new faces there. You know, Trocheck got a goal, which was big for the Rangers the other night. We're seeing Hedel get on the board. You know, we're seeing Kakko play fairly well. But there is that concern. And this is kind of supposed to be an Islander and Ranger video, but I just finished talking about the Islanders, so I'm kind of sick of that. But in terms of the rivalry, I mean, listen, you cannot ignore the stat of Shesterkin's record against the Islanders. He's 1-7-1 against the New York Islanders. That is very concerning. He just does not play well against them. And when you have Varlamov on the other side, who has had 4 straight shutouts coming into that game against the Rangers the other night, you know, that's kind of the way things have gone. The Islanders have won 8 of the past 10 meetings against the Rangers. So when you look at all of that stuff, maybe it's best for the Rangers that they don't play the Islanders until next season. Maybe they play them in the playoffs. We'll see how that goes. But the Islanders are just a team right now that is just, they have the advantage in just the matchup. The way both of these teams play, it's a good matchup for the Islanders, and they've taken full advantage of that. And I don't think it's that concerning for the Rangers. Like I said, it's some bad matchups. I think Boston's a bad matchup. I truly think even a team like Detroit and the Islanders is a bad matchup. They have some games here where I think they are better matched up against these teams. They're weaker teams in terms of roster. The Rangers have to take advantage of that before going on the West Coast in the beginning of December, because that is going to be critical for this team. Guys, that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you guys think the Rangers are frauds, that last year was kind of a blip on the radar? Or do you think that this is just kind of the way things start off, right? They're just coming off of a sluggish start to the season. Things are going to turn around. They have some bad matchups, and they're going to get back onto it. But I think the real concern for a lot of Rangers fans that's more concerning is the fact that this is a team that was much more structured last year, and it seems like some of that defensive structure has kind of gone away and gotten away from them. And I think that's why a lot of Rangers fans are a little bit more, here we go. This could be a little bit of a problem. So let me know what you guys think. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and a subscribe down below. And I'll see you again